Hello there, and thanks for joining me. The first co-op championship of the new series will take place in summer. Will feature sports utility heroes of A-class and will be an all cross-country adventure. Time to dig in, as cross-country events are usually troublesome. This one proved very troublesome as it required 3 attempts to finally win this trial, but more on that later. My choice of car. I have a very decent Porsche Macan that I almost exclusively use when racing offline. But it has the disadvantage of being a rather slow car, and I wanted to test out something different. So I went for looks, rather than, well, anything else basically. And this made me up with a very wide Jaguar F-Pace S from 2017. Let's hope it will take us to victory, or at the bare minimum see me through to the finish line. First race is the mountain foot cross country, and it becomes obvious that we have a nice mixture of cars, something I always enjoy seeing. The first 2 attempts on this trial were riddled with the same cars. First one, half of the human team were driving Jeep Trackhawks. Second attempt, half the team were in Lambo Uruses. For some reason that I can't even explain myself, I like having these mixture of cars at the start of the co-op championship. Never did any other player, drivatars included, choose the Jaguar. I wonder why. Let's hope this does not mean I took the wrong car. Off we go. And the tune of my car has excellent launch and acceleration, so I easily shoot towards the front, and shooting is quite correctly, but the trajectory is that of an arrow and not a bullet. Time for drivatar shenanigans. One of them decides to just park the car in the middle of the road. Well, not road, but racing line, in the middle of the field. Why does this always happen? Why do drivatars act like this also? As soon as you hit them from behind, they brake, even if you hit them only slightly. Another arrow-like jump followed by a massive slide, and at the end of the slide my car points towards the inner racing line and I decide to work my way through there. Drivatars don't care about me, so I don't care if my racing line puts the Maserati out of balance. We can go for the jump or through the water. Previous 2 races I went for the jump, and the first time the landing ended in disaster. The second time I went through perfectly. This time I opted for the water, and that too seems to go alright. Now we come to the rail yard and I can overtake the drivatar. 2 human players at the front, and I want to be the one in the lead. The next section is a tricky one. That first corner is quite sharp, and if you do not brake early enough you end up clattering the wall, just like he does. I tried to leave him enough space, but still there is some contact as I needed to use all available space. The next corner, where we will exit the rail yard, is not as sharp as the braking line tries to suggest. You can brake way later and still make that corner. I also try to avoid all debris on my way through to have the best possible run through this part. We have about 20% to go, and this should be the easiest section of the race. No real sharp corners except for the one near the finish line. Just some buildings I need to avoid, but all in all, nothing too special. One teammate is rather close, so no time for fooling around, but this should go in my favor. Now, I mentioned the sharp corner near the finish line, so let's cut to a previous run through here. And this was my second attempt at this co-op championship, and here too I was in the lead. As you can see at the leaderboard, not really sufficient to win this race. The drivatar behind me is really close, like he could smell my fumes coming out of the exhaust. So I go into this corner, and I go in quite nicely, but also quite fast. And that causes the slightest of slides, and that causes me to hit the wall. There goes my first place. So let's hope I learned my lesson and do not hit that wall again. I brake, go past the house and make it nicely to the finish line. This time I am able to keep my first position. To make matters worse, we did lose that race, but if I would have had first place, we would have won. And As if that is not bad enough, we lost that championship by 1 point as well. So, if I would have been able to hold on, we would have won that championship. So, that one mistake did cost us the entire championship. Not this time around, as we now have more than sufficient points. This time around, we get to collect our first championship point, which gives us a nice lead for this trial. One more race we have to win to declare ourselves winners. Let's see if we can already make this happen in the next race, but OMG. It is the Ridge cross-country circuit, you know, the one with a very, very big jump. Well, not that big of a jump, but rather a very long drop. Another practice course for our cars to become full-fledged arrows. We get to do that 3 times, so ample opportunity to crash our cars. And me personally, I always seem to have that one car that cannot handle these kind of drops. This time around, it is not the driver task, but rather a teammate that decides to just not start. Why do these things always happen to me? I was able to swerve out of the way, more or less, but that made me collide with another teammate. It's a good thing we are in these massive heavyweight mastodons. Not to rock that. If we weren't, I might have pinned the teammate behind against the start-finish wall. And we all saw that this is not a nice thing to happen. After that, things went pretty well and I was able to quite literally slide my way to the top of the race. One teammate exclaiming "coming through", and that is what I will do in this next corner. I'm up on the inside. I correctly estimated the slide of the leader and I was just able to avoid him, although it slightly compromised my run. It did allow me to gain first place, but he's still there. But I have the better mountain climbing car. Will I also have the best dropping down car? Or more correctly, the better landing car? I sure hope so, as this is where things tend to go wrong. But not this time. Not for me anyway. I have a very decent run. 2 corners before we can shoot towards the finish line, and both of them go very well. I have a nice lead, and that means I get to pass the start-finish line in first position on the first lap already. So, that means time to shift our focus towards the car and the tune I'm using. The tune for this Jaguar F-Pace S is made by Don Juan Song and is called World Record V2. I have no idea what world record it has, or more likely had, as it is a tune from November 22nd from 2018 already. So most likely that world record is no longer there. Speed is 7.4. Handling is 6.9, and as I said earlier, excellent acceleration and launch, as that is made obvious here by both having a 10. Braking is only 6.9, but who needs brakes anyway? If you are still in doubt, give this combo a chance. It did slide on some occasions, but that was rather due to my errors in judgment than due to the car or tune. Go Jag, be the best arrow that you can possibly be. Just don't get stuck in the ground like an actual arrow. That would not be the preferred course of action. The Forza gods are with me today, or I finally found a car that can actually survive these landings. I'm really glad I can finally do this race without losing control over my car every single time I land from the ridge. Once again, I cross the start-finish line in pole position. If I can do that one more time, I will also win this second race. That does require another successful jump from the ridge, but I now feel fairly confident. Upon my first attempt of this trial, I came in 5th in the first race, 1st in second and also 1st in the third race. Regardless of those positions, we actually lost every single race. As I mentioned earlier, the second attempt went similarly, although we were able to get one race victory. So this trial proved to be one of the most difficult ones I ever did, as it took me 3 attempts to finally get a win. But I mainly blame my teammates, although the second attempt we could have won if I had done better. One final time to shine as a golden arrow. well, blue reddish, but that doesn't have the same nice ring to it. And this time we do get a little slide on and a nice ping off the wall, and we keep on sliding, but finally get things under control. Still a pretty funky line towards the next corner, but I round it nicely. Now, I couldn't drift if my life depended on it, but the slide in the next corner does set me up nicely for a drag race towards the finish line. And then I can count myself lucky that I can avoid a repeat of my failure I showed earlier. That start-finish wall came a lot closer than I would have liked to. Nevertheless, I was able to cross the finish line in first place for the third time in a row, and also final time. Final time this race. I sure hope it was not the final time. I sure hope to get victory somewhere in the future as well. Maybe even in the next race. That would make it another hat-trick. Points-wise we have an abundance, so that means another championship point in the pocket. We have 2 of those now, so that already guarantees our victory for this trial. Ladies and gentlemen, lo and behold, we have a rare occurrence. Last race is for honor only, and I sure plan to defend mine. I have my weapon of choice. My blue reddish arrow is ready to take on another race. See, it just doesn't sound as well as golden arrow, but then again I do not want to drive a golden car. Wouldn't want to be caught dead in one, as that would mean, you know, that I'm dead, and I don't want that. Not particularly looking forward to that. Way too many races to run. Like this one, the city outskirts cross country. All of a sudden, being dead sounds tempting. I start, like the previous 2 races, somewhere near the end. Will I also be able to make my way to the top in the first part of this race? Let's find out. I am completely ready for this next race. My blue reddish arrow launches and indeed shoots past, well, one teammate. But watch the first corner of the race to see the cutback of the century. Well, decade maybe, as that one just started. My arrow shoots from 8th place all the way to pole position. This might even be move of the week material. And if you do not know what that is, then go check out JSR Devon's channel, one of the best racing channels there is. Every video is a joy to watch. Now, land it, land it, land it. Ooh, so nice. It really is satisfying if you can actually stick the landing. This car seems to be able to do just that. The race becomes very different, as normally I would be worried for every single jump that my car would just spin out or do some other unexpected funky stuff when landing. Every jump in every race usually feels like playing the lottery, and just like with the lottery, chances of coming out a winner are very slim. Not with this car, and I must admit it makes these cross-country events a lot more enjoyable. So, way to go, blue reddish arrow of mine. Talking about funky lines, I had quite a few ones, I must admit, but still I maintain my lead, albeit with a teammate not too far behind, and it seems even he is closing in. But we are also closing in on the finish line, and I hope I can keep him at bay long enough to make it there in time for my hat-trick. Not sure if he was slowing down or it was just the minimap zooming in, but I seem to gain. One final corner. And slowing down on wet grass seems a little bit more difficult than anticipated, but I am able to keep the lead. And I cross the finish line in first place for a third time in a row. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a hat-trick scored by yours truly. We also have second place, but even that is insufficient to win this race, as everybody else is near or at the end of the pack. With the entire team across the finish line, this becomes definite. We will not win this race. boy was I glad we won the previous 2 races, else we would have lost this 3rd attempt as well. So even now it proved to be a rather difficult trial, but in the end we were victorious with our 2 championship points, and that means we get to take home the prize. And maybe that's why this trial was so difficult, as the prize for this co-op championship called Cross Country Heroes is the legendary Maserati MC12 Versione Corsa from 2008. But even a legendary car is not sufficient as a prize. I also accumulated enough experience points to gain a new level. And a new level comes with its own prize in the form of a wheel spin. Will this wheel spin bring me a nice car, one I do not yet own? Let's find out. 130,000 credits, that is mighty fine. And I hope you also found this video mighty fine. If that happens to be the case, then please go ahead and press that thumbs up. If you're new here, consider subscribing, leaving a comment if you like, and I hope to see you next time.